Right, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a rumour. It's a good one, though, and it's one I can kind of believe that's happening. It's not like a major surprise. A lot of people are kind of framing it as shock horror. It sounds pretty obvious to me. Basically, Mark Hamill could return to Star Wars as a CGI Luke Skywalker. A lot of people have signed over the rights, likeness rights, basically, over the past few years. It seems to be roped into most people's contracts these days, and this seems to be part of what Star Wars and Disney are trying to do to, I guess, revive the brand a little bit. So basically, the rumor is that Mark Hamill has signed a deal. It's clear cut. It's confirmed, not confirmed, but that's the rumor anyway. They will allow to produce films, but with a CGI Luke. I think that'd be terrible. I don't really think that's a good idea. In terms of like a full CGI Luke, oof, no thanks. I don't hate, I'd like him to return, but CGI recreations of people look really wonky. Need I only point to Princess Leia in what was that? It was in Rogue One, wasn't it? I think. Oof, not so good. And even Peter Cushing as well was a bit not so good. So here we go. Let's dive into it, right? So a new rumour indicates that Star Wars veteran Mark Hamill inked a deal with Disney and Lucasfilm that will allow the companies to produce films featuring a CGI version of Luke Skywalker. It comes from the WDW Magic forums, which is like a Disney insider, basically. And they've done. There's a few rumours and leaks that have come from these forums, so it is interesting. But basically, it's stated that Disney is seeking to push forward with the same technology used to create movies such as The Lion King 2019 and The Jungle Book 2016, as well as human facial CGI seen in Rogue One, and to begin work on an unnamed film that would be fully computer animated but presented as a live action film featuring human characters. Now, that bit actually is the positive part. Because when we talk about like wonky CG, it's normally when they're referenced against actual live-action humans and they look a bit. If you can build a whole CG world and immerse people into the world, then the uncanny valley is hindered somewhat. It's still there, FYI. Like, it still looks terrible, but it's not as off-putting because you've immersed yourself into the world as a whole. So I think out of all of this news, that's probably the better part of it. Personally, again, I hand it on over to you. What do you think about that? I think that's not a bad one. I don't think that that's bad. I think that's, if you're going to do it, that's the best way to do it. Now, WDW Pro details that one of their sources indicates that this unnamed film is a movie about a young Indiana Jones. I wouldn't be a fan of that. I wouldn't be a fan of a young Indiana Jones movie. We've had young Indiana. Harrison Ford. Would it even be Harrison Ford? Who knows? I don't know. Not a fan. Young Indiana Jones. No. Just continue it. Just continue it past Harrison Ford. Give it to someone else. Happy, just continue it on. Almost have it like a James Bond character. Just swap out the person. Have them, roughly the same. And go through the motions like that. I think that's the way to go with these kind of storied franchises, right? These mega storied franchises that they hold such a special place in your heart because of who they are, but also what they are. I think that's the way to go, is to continue them in the exact same vein that they were established in, but then just swap out the character, swap out the actor. And I know that sounds blasphemy to a lot of people, but otherwise it's just dead, isn't it? And it works for James Bond. Yeah, you have some good ones and some bad ones, but it works for James Bond. I don't see why it can't work for the likes of Indiana Jones. If you disagree, I really want to know why. Why can't it work for Indiana Jones? Now, WDW Pro explains that the specific to Walt Disney World, the interesting information is that due to Guardians of the Galaxy 3 film shooting being significantly delayed, the company is interested in using Cosmic Rewind as a proof of concept if they are unable to get the coaster film work completed by the actors in person on time. Interesting. Now, given that the young indie film, if the one source is accurate, could be 3 to 5 years out, I'd imagine longer, surely, to do all of that work. Maybe. This provides perfect timing for Disney to test audiences' reaction to the technology they've developed within an attraction. The decision should be made within the next 2 months, according to WDW Pro, so we'll find out soon. But also, we're supposed to be getting Disney's financials today, which will be insane. I mean, I can't wait to do a report on that. Jesus Christ, that's not going to be good, is it? But basically, how it pertains to Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. As far as how this pertains to Mark Hamill, Star Wars and Lucasfilm, WDW Pro writes that meanwhile, Lucasfilm inked a deal with Mark Hamill without much fanfare within the past 18 months, which permits them to produce films featuring a CGI Luke Skywalker. Now, it's somewhat leading phrasing there, without much fanfare. It's not going to. These things they're standard nowadays. They really are. Especially for big mega corporations like Disney, the likeness rights and stuff, it's standard. It seems to be a standard thing. As the technology has developed, these things are standard. So there was never going to be any fanfare about it. Now, WDW Pro elaborates, I'm told that within that contract, Disney also is given the ability to use CGI faux reality Luke in future adaptations of Galaxy's Edge. So they're looking to remodel Galaxy's Edge, which is just, God, whatever. Just let it die. I don't think anyone cares. Just let it die. I think the fact that you were selling overpriced food, overpriced drinks, overpriced lightsabers, so on and so forth, plus also massive entry, it's just let it die. However, WDW Pro speculates that given Disney's current financial situation, it's unlikely that a CGI faux reality Luke will arrive in Galaxy's Edge anytime soon, which makes sense. And that goes to what I'm saying about the financials that they're supposed to be releasing today. Awful. They're not going to be good. They're going to be really, really concerning. A lot of people are like, oh, you just hate on Disney. Not really. It's more of an analysis of like how that's going to shape the landscape moving forwards. Because if they crumble, there'll be another studio to pick up the properties. How's that going to affect it? Also, if they crumble and fall or they choose to downsize, how's that going to affect their market share overall? So many things to keep track of, which are really, really interesting as a pop culture and movie industry. Now, WDW Pro writes, unfortunately, due to the abysmal financial situation, the latter may not come to fruition anytime soon, which makes perfect sense. And they would conclude, both in the parks and in theatres, it is likely going forward that Disney will use the pandemic to slowly begin moving towards computer animation as a substitute for human actors. There's even rumours that they're going to do all the sort of close, intimate scenes by CG now. Not Disney, but like everyone. Which, we've had diseases before, for God's sake. Like, god damn. People seem to forget, like, you got malaria and people die of that. There's so many diseases that if you travel to locations that you have to sign waivers for and things like that, you're just going to die otherwise. But people die of these things fairly often, but no one really... I don't think no actors died from on set yet. Like, I get it, it's bad, but we need to sort of pipe down on the sort of overemphasis of restructuring society. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that Disney will immediately stop traditional live film, just that they have the capability for the first time in history, they believe, and they're now prepared to move forward with it to some degree, if only because they never want to be in their current stalled position ever again, which makes sense. If they can create models that are sufficient enough, they can have all of these movies being made whilst they're on lockdown. Who cares? Like, they just sit there and do it, right? Like, have people phone in their performances, things like that. Ship them out bloody microphones. They can do that. It's not beyond them. So there you go. I mean, there's not much else to really go into. To be fair, I just think ultimately, I think ultimately like a CGI Luke. Yeah, I mean, I can do that. Yeah, I can get down with that. Is it a massive surprise that this has happened? No, not really. Again, people framing it as a huge surprise. I don't really understand why. Because this was, well, this is normal and it was inevitable. But what do you guys think? Good or bad? Would this save Star Wars? I don't think it would, but hand it on over to you. Let me know down below in the comments. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Please do give this video a like and please do share it. That really does help the channel out a lot more than you know, because YouTube is just screwing this channel into oblivion. I say to turn the bell notifications on and click them onto all for a reason. Like, I stream on Monday nights, and basically no one gets notified. So yeah, just do that if you want. Anyway, thanks so much. Take care.